Welcome to the ThunderCast, your martial athletics podcast produced by the fans, for the fans, with your hosts, Russ Livingood and KD Hugnall. We're bringing you the thundering word on the thundering herd each and every week, so keep it right here. The ThunderCast is on the loose.
Welcome to another episode of the ThunderCast, and yes, it is Russ and Jed this time, not KD. KD has some scheduling issues with work, highly unfortunate, but it's always good to have Jed in the house. Jed, of course, with Ignite Link, strategic partner of the ThunderCast, and just as much a part of the ThunderCast as anybody else. So, Jed, welcome. Glad to have you here. And looking forward to this show.
Thanks for having me on, Russ. As I say every time you guys bring me on, I don't know why you keep bringing me back, because I have very big shoes to fill. I am no KD, but I will try to do him justice today.
Well, man, I'm no KD as well, as you know. I've got a different style. He's been doing this a lot longer, but we're gonna power through this. And I'm still sick, so I'm gonna sound sick. I'm probably gonna have to keep hitting the mute button and coughing and things like that. But we're gonna have a good preview episode for Georgia State. Before we get into that, I want to say that if you've been hurt in a wreck, call the law firm of Leasure Oliver PLLC. Find them at 304carwreck.com. Jed, we're going to get into it. This is an episode that is solely a preview of Georgia State. We have a lot of storylines coming in from the ending of the last game. We talked about that ad nauseum on the recap episode just a few days ago. So we really won't hit that hard, but some of the things that happened there obviously might affect how we talk about this preview. And this is the ComAssist KY official preview. ComAssist, you coach, or we coach, you grow. All right, Jed, this is only the third matchup between these two teams. We host them in 2022, and we win 28-23. They host us in 2023, and they beat us 41-24. Just an upset, ugly game, if I remember correct. From your view from 30,000 feet in this third all-time meeting, before we get into the breakdown, what's it looking like to you?
Yeah, I think you're going to see a herd team from the coaching staff all the way down having something to prove. We can, as we get further on, in our breakdown, we can talk more specifics. But from that 30,000 foot view, I see a team that has something to prove, that showed for 3 quarters last week that they have talent. They have the ability to win, the ability to win games, even though we weren't able to pull that off last week. But a team that, if they can put it together for 4 quarters, I think you're going to see more of that 2022 where they came here and we win versus that ugly game of last year. I see us being able to pull off what I would consider not a sizable victory per se, but a very dominant victory if we can compete for all 4 quarters.
Jed, as you were saying that, I was listening and paying attention, but I also noticed that my handle on Twitter is below you, and KD's Twitter is below me. It's just different. He's usually in that slot over there, but you can find Jed at
Jed Horton or at Ignite Link. If you guys want to look us up at Ignite Link, you can do that. Or you can just find me at Jed Horton. So very, very easy. Very easy to find me. Or if you have any complaints, just at
Russ Livingood. Yeah,
yes,
I'll send all hate mail goes to at Russ Livingood. I am not going to switch the screens over because we've already been there. If people at this time can't figure out who's what, I'm sorry. All right, so we got your view from 30,000 feet. I can't say that I disagree with anything you said there about how we're going to come out. KD always has 3 big questions this year since we've been doing this ComAssistKY.com preview of every game. He's had 3 big questions. I'm going to try to do him some justice, and I'm going to ask you 3 big questions. Then we're going to get into all these stats, all these matchups, keys to victory, and everything that we're known for on doing our previews. So question number 1, will the team carry over that hangover type feeling from the loss and how we lost in the last game, or will they use that as motivation, kind of what you alluded to a little bit earlier, and come out real strong? Coming out of the tunnel, first quarter, how you think that we're going to do?
I'm going to lean towards. I'm not going to go heavily in that direction of using as motivation, but I'm going to lean toward that as the motivation because they knew for 3 quarters they were dominant, and kind of that falling off in the last half of that 4th quarter in the previous game. I think it's more of they have something to prove, and they're going to come out more dominant. We've seen almost every game, save for maybe the Virginia Tech game, we've come out pretty quick. We've come out either in the first drive or the second drive and put up points. In most of the games, I should have pulled that stat up, and I see that to continue, and I'm leaning towards, I think we'll use that as a motivator instead of coming out flat. Because if you look at this, you look at the conference standings, it's still wide open. We've made things more difficult for ourselves.
Yeah.
But it's still wide open. So,
yeah.
you can be upset about the last game and use that as I think that's more going to be a motivator for this team than it is a drag.
Yeah, I think people rightfully are upset with how the ending of the game went. And there's 2 different ways we can go about it. And I'm kind of in agreement with you. I think that we come out and have a strong first drive and just set the tone in this game. I just really hope we can keep that up the entire time. Question number 2, it's also about the start of the game. Who's going to be that quarterback that goes out there and takes the first snap? And as a follow-up, do you think that we're going to see 2 quarterbacks playing significant time?
See, I know how there's a little bit of maybe a difference between how I feel and what will happen. But I think you have to, even with the fumbles, I think you have to give it to Braylon Braxton. The previous week, SBC player, offensive player of the week. He is the one that went down and gave you a couple, he was quarterback on those touchdown drives. After Earl came in and then he went back in, kind of cold. I don't think you can hold that too heavily against him. I see him as more of the ability to be, a playmaker. Not that Earl is not a playmaker by any stretch of the imagination, but I think Braxton's your guy, and it would not surprise me to see him get the start. It wouldn't surprise me to see Earl get the start, but if I had to choose, I would think, he's had the hot hand last couple of weeks. Again, save for those 2 fumbles, and we can argue semantics whether that second fumble was a fumble or not. But save those 2 fumbles, I really think he's the guy with the hot hand, and things are happening when he's in the game. I think you give him the start until he proves otherwise that he's not your guy.
Okay. Question number 3, and the final question, is will the fans do their part? And what I mean by that, it's a Thursday night game. We're coming off a horrible loss. Been a lot of people online talking about don't go to the game, which I am not for. I was just on preview with the Georgia State guys, State of Atlanta, and we talked about that. But all that aside, it's a Thursday night game. It's harder for people to go to because of work and school the next morning, travel from out of town. Will the fans that are there do their part, and will the fans that can go to the game do their part and actually go to the game?
Yeah, that's a loaded question. I was kind of thinking about some of these things coming into this episode of the 2 schools of thought, right? So you have the school of thought that we've been seeing on Twitter and seeing on Facebook and fan forums and things like that of, you shouldn't go to the game to show your show your disapproval and things of that nature. I see where that's coming from.
Mm-hmm.
I understand where that's coming from. But one of the things that I've come to the conclusion of, and this is me as a fan personally, is, even after a very upset, being upset, and maybe you do believe that some coaching changes need to happen or other changes need to happen as a fan. I think that's all well and fair. But I keep looking to schools like App State as an example, where their fans are so rabid. They also they're still calling for the head of their coach. I'm not saying we should do that here,
Right.
but at the same time, they are going out and supporting their team, regardless of
That's right.
some of those challenges that are happening. And
That's right.
And I think that school of thought is, and I lean towards that. And I agree with that school of thought is, you can still be a rabid fan and support your team and support your players, and also not accept losses that are unexcusable, or accept directions of the program. I'm not saying we're going in a bad direction, but you can accept those, or not accept those directions, but also still being a rabid fan and still supporting the team. And I would argue that, it's even not more embarrassing, I'm going to use that term, but more embarrassing for a coach if he has to go out game in, game out in front of a rabid fan base and lose games. Because that's what we're demanding. We demand excellence through our fandom. So, and I know there's two schools of thought there, but all that to say, that's my opinion moving forward into, do I think the fans will do their part? I'd have to split that one down the middle. I think there's definitely midweek game. A lot of people do try to travel in from out of town that might not be able to.
Sure.
I think you'll see a mediocre crowd is unfortunately what I'm thinking. So it's that splitting that one down the middle for me.
So we're kind of on the same page there. I think that the fans that do show up will do their part, but I think that there's going to be less fans there, and some of it, unfortunately, is going to be deciding that they're not going, whereas a lot more fans just simply won't be able to go. Fans from Charlotte, from Richmond, from Atlanta, from Louisville. It's a long trip, especially if you have to work until 5. Can't even make it by then, So I get why there might not be as many there, and I don't expect there to be that many there. But I feel like the ones that do go will be rabid because they're Marshall fans, and that's what we do. Good job with those 3 questions, because they weren't easy, to answer. But let's talk a little bit of stats and some players we need to watch out for, and then we'll talk a little bit on keys to victory and everything. So I'm going to start, like we always do, with the quarterback room. And kind of interesting, their quarterback for the entire year, and I hope that I'm going to say this right, is Christian Value. He has 1,284 yards on 198 pass attempts. 116 out of 198 for 1,284, 58.6 completion percentage, 6.5 average per attempt, 9 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, has only been sacked 5 times coming into this game. Has played just about every single snap this year. But what's kind of like not weird, but just interesting, is they decided to replace him at the end of last week's game. And they brought in Zach Gibson, who was 6 of 6, 49 yards, 1 touchdown, 8.2 average per attempt. So they bring in a new quarterback. It's going to be a little bit interesting. I was just talking to the Georgia State guys over at State of Atlanta, And they said that a lot of the fan base, of course, when somebody comes in, completes every pass, throws a touchdown in their one drive that they were in, automatically there's quarterback controversy. Well, we ought to be playing this guy. So it's going to be interesting. What do you think about that quarterback situation?
Yeah, it is kind of interesting because he's not done what, at least on paper, he's not done a bad job. The only thing that he has not presented as a threat is on the ground with his feet. He's definitely not a mobile quarterback. But as far as, and again, I've not gone back and watched Georgia State games other than just kind of looking at who they've played and those scores and some of his stats. He doesn't blow you out of the water with his stats.
He's definitely not a runner, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
He's got 3 carries for negative 21 yards with a long of 3. So it wasn't like all these sack yards are taken away from him on his career. Or I'm sorry, that was just last. That was last week. On his season, I should say, 11 carries, negative 20 yards, a long of 18. And he does have 1 touchdown on the ground this year, but definitely not a threat. I think he was just so ineffective during that game, and he threw an interception, I think, right before that, or had a fumble. It was definitely a turnover, and they just said, let's put in Zach Gibson. He comes in 6 out of 6, throws a touchdown, 49 yards through the air, and all of a sudden people were like, hey, this guy looks pretty good. So
and it's hard to tell on those one-offs too. A guy comes in
absolutely.
and he looks good for a second. It's
maybe against a prevent defense where you can just pick them apart and things like that. So you definitely have to take all these things into account. Value, KD always does this. Has a really good job of breaking these down. 6'5", 209-pound junior, and Gibson is 6'2", 201 senior. So both of them are upperclassmen. It's not like, one's a freshman and this is an exciting new guy. They make a move over to Gibson for the rest of the year. They're going to have to replace him. So I don't know. I kind of think they're going to be sticking with value and just kind of the feeling that I have. But we might see kind of a short leash if he has a couple of turnovers that we'll see Gibson thrown in.
Right. I think you got to have to try to game plan, for both. I think, especially unfortunately with the short turnaround, that's going to be a little difficult to do. But I think you do have to plan for both. But I kind of lean towards what you're saying. I think you go with your more seasoned guy unless he's experiencing either an injury or he's falling apart in some manner. Throwing picks or those kind of things.
We're going to switch over to the running back room, and it obviously starts with Freddie Brock. He's got 61 carries on the year, 306 yards, right at 5.0 average yards per carry, 2 touchdowns on the year. This team only has 3 touchdowns on the ground all year long, 1 by Value that we just talked about, and those 2 by Freddie Brock. Michael Dukes also has 20 carries, 110 yards, 5.5 average, no touchdowns, obviously. And then Syvion Wilkerson, 23 carries, 97 yards, 4.2 average, obviously no touchdowns. So not a lot out of this running back room through their games so far. 141 carries, 3 touchdowns. They're not doing a lot on the ground. They're trying to do it all through the air. So that's kind of what is making me look at what they're doing with the quarterback room. Is it's going to be highly interesting if they have a short leash on Value or if they just decide to switch it up and say, let's see what this guy's got. He had a hot hand at the end of last game. So that's something to look forward to. Thoughts on the running backs?
Yeah. I think you've got, I wouldn't call it a deep room by any stretch of the imagination. If you look at their rush yards per game, I was looking at the statistics earlier. They're 98.3 rush yards a game average. which ranks them at 119. So to your point, they're definitely not a run heavy offense. They're definitely going to be a lot of passing. I think that's, if you can make that team one dimensional, which they kind of trend that direction anyway, I think that helps us, especially in our game plan. You got a quarterback that's not really that mobile versus a rushing offense that's not, really putting up the numbers. You got to, it's going to give you the ability to game plan around that, making sure that maybe you go for some of those extra sacks and you send some blitzes, or, you're making sure you're covering those guys that are going to be the high targets. So, all that to say, it's not overly impressive what they have. Definitely could do damage if you're not careful, but I like our odds against that.
Highly interesting to me. Of course, Freddie Brock, through these 5 games that they've played, has been the lead rusher every game. They do not have a single game where they've had a 100-yard rusher individually. Brock has 61, 73, 96, 36, and 40. So the last 2 games, conference games, both losses, 36 yards and 40 yards leads the team. Does not look like they're going to go heavy on the run. However, in that game where he had 96 rushing yards, it was the win over Vanderbilt. So the ability's there, and he has good yards per carry. They just haven't been feeding him the rock. And, it may be that they've just been behind so much that they said, well, we need to pass. Mm-hmm. So, all right. Now, where they really shine, you're going to have to watch Ted Hurst at wide receiver. Coming into this through 5 games, 25 receptions, 434 yards, good for 17.4 yards a catch. He's got a long of 76 and 5 touchdowns. They also throw to their tight end quite a bit, and that is Dorian Fleming. 21 receptions, 234 yards, 11.1 average, a long of 58, and 2 touchdowns. So 7 of their 10 touchdowns through the air go to Ted Hurst and Dorian Fleming. 1 is a wideout, 1 is a tight end. You also have to watch Michael Dukes out of the backfield. He has 16 receptions, 133 yards, 8.3 yards per catch. And also at wide out, Talik Williams with 16 catches, 165 yards, 10.3 on the average, long of 24. Only other guy on here that has double figures, also a wide receiver, DJ Riles. And Riles has 13 receptions, 106 yards, 8.2 yards per catch with a long of 24. Especially with Ted Hurst, what are you thinking about this wide receiver tight end room, the passing game?
It's definitely their strength, because if you look at their offensive, their passing statistics, they're definitely, a lot better. You look at, pass yards per game, they're averaging 273.8. That's good for 26th. So they're definitely throwing it a lot.
Yeah.
So it's something that they've been successful at. They've just not been able to turn that into wins, other than that Vanderbilt game, which that one still kind of blows my mind. With a team that, the last few conference games have not done very well, especially with their game against Georgia Southern, same team, same team we came off and playing last week. But outside of that, even in those losses, they're putting up yards. These guys are making plays. These guys are getting touchdowns. They've proven that they can kind of go off at any point.
Yeah.
So it's something that we have to definitely look out for, especially with their high target guy, knowing that he's going to get the ball a lot, and they're going to be very successful getting it to him. So it's to mitigate that as much as possible.
Yeah, this offense, they're scoring 21.4 points a game. That doesn't jump out at you. 107 total points, 13 total touchdowns. Here's what does leap off the page to me. Out of their first downs, they have 100 first downs. 7 of those have been by penalty, and the ratio that's left over is how many they get versus pass versus how many they get from rush. 64 passing first downs and 29 rushing first downs. So this is a team that, even though their 204 attempts versus 141 rushing attempts is not a crazy disparity. That's looking at right around 12 a game more in favor of passing. But what leaps off the page is how efficiently they are doing or throwing for the first downs instead of rushing. They've only got 3 rushing touchdowns on the year, only 2 of those from the running back room. And one of their leading receivers is coming out of the backfield as well. So look for kind of heavy on the pass. And as we start talking strategy here later and what we might see, that'll play into our defense a little bit. All right, let's talk about their defense. Starts with Xavier Robinson, linebacker. He's got 35 total tackles on the year, 1 sack. No really other big impact plays from him. He doesn't have any interceptions, no fumbles forced or anything like that. 7 tackles a game and got a sack, and he's their leading tackler. Also, right below him, another linebacker, and that is Justin Abraham, 32 total tackles, 26 of those solo. He's got 1 sack, no forced fumbles, no interceptions, anything like that. And that's kind of all that you see from the tackling standpoint. The impact plays that they have a linebacker that doesn't have a lot of tackles, only 17 on the year, has 4 sacks. We're going to have to watch out for him. That is Kevin Swint, a 6'3", 242-pound senior linebacker. 4 sacks on the year, 22 sack yards. He's got 3 pass deflections out there at linebacker and 2 forced fumbles. So the tackling with him is not up there. He's not getting a lot of tackles per game, but the ones that he does have, he is making a huge impact. So their linebacker room really is the draw here, but that's not all they have. They have 3 sacks by defensive tackle Henry Bryant, and Henry is a 6 foot, 275-pound junior. And let's see here, 3 tackles, 19 yards on those tackles. He has forced a fumble and recovered a fumble. And let's see, other sacks that they have is going to be, those 2 linebackers that we talked about with 1 each, then the linebacker with 4, and then Henry Bryant with 3. That is their 9 sacks coming from those 4 players. Nobody else has any. They have 4 forced fumbles, 4 fumble recoveries. They have 4 interceptions and only 8 yards on their interceptions. Does not scream dynamic defense to me. What are your thoughts so far on these impact players and their defense overall?
Yeah, not like to your point, nothing really jumps off the page. There's definitely they've definitely made some impact in some games with the forced fumbles and the sacks and some things. But yeah, to your point, not really. I mean, it's definitely, again, you can never look over anybody and look over a defense. But nothing screams, you got to really watch, these 2 guys or these 3 guys, they're going to be constantly in the backfield type of scenario. So that's kind of where I stand with them.
Kevin Swint, 4 sacks in 5 games. That looks really good. Henry Bryant, 3 sacks in 5 games. That looks good. 8 turnovers forced. That looks good. But when you start looking at the lack of tackles and the just seems like an opportunity for breaking tackles and getting in the end zone, and they have been giving up a lot of points this year. So, again, I think that'll play into a little bit of what we're talking about. Earlier, we were talking about the offense. That'll play into our defense. Now we're talking about their defense, and it'll be how do we attack that defense.
Well, and if I'm not jumping ahead too far, but looking at their defensive statistics, one of the things that does stand out to me is their opponent's rush yards per game is sitting at 199.5, which you're basically looking at 200 yards rushed
200
against
yards
their defense. And so if teams are rushing 200 yards against, I know we're running I'll continue with the term modified air raid. But as we start talking about our offensive capabilities and our ability to run the ball, I think that plays right into those statistics that we're seeing with their defense and those tackles and things like that.
All right, let's talk about their special teams real quick. Their kicker, 12 of 12 on extra points, 5 out of 9 on field goals, and how that breaks down with yardage is 2 out of 2 from the 20s, 0 for 1 from the 30s, and 3 out of 6 from the 40s. Do have a long of 47, though. So, get down to the 30-yard line out of the red zone, they can still put points on the board. Their punter, that is never on here. KD has all this stuff written down. He's so much better at this than I am. I am never the one that leads these things. So I am trying to find the punter's stats, and man, they just don't have them on here. Let me tell you a little bit about their team stuff, and then I'll hopefully have their punting stuff. Speaking of punting, but this is from a return standpoint, they have only 6 punt returns for 6 yards. That is 130th out of 133. 3 returns for 4 yards were during the last game. So they just have not been fielding punts. We talked about that kind of hurting us in this last game against Georgia Southern, where we're missing Metcalf, and he has been doing a great job of trying to return each punt. We had a lot of no attempts to even fair catch the ball, just let it bounce, and wondering if that's not a lot of what they're running into. We have only allowed 5 punts to be returned on the year. The problem is we are ranked 131st out of 133 with 26 yards per punt return. And, of course, the reason for that, 97 of those 130 yards came on 3 returns versus Virginia Tech and Ohio State, one of those taken to the house. So this will be interesting to watch. They are not good at punt returns. We are kind of stingy on allowing attempts, but we've had some scary issues with our punt coverage where we've had some long runs against us. One thing that they do very well, they only have 23 penalties on the year. That's good for 4.6 per game and 16th in the country. They, however, do not do well in the red zone on defense because they're tied for dead last at 100%. They've allowed scores in all 17 attempts against them. 10 of those have been through the air, 6 on the ground, and they've given up 1 field goal in the red zone. But a little side note, who they were tied dead last for amongst a bunch of other teams was Georgia Southern, who we just faced. State has 174.8 yards per game on the ground and 174.5 for Marshall, nearly identical. And I have this as defending the run, but you just said 199.5. So I'm thinking that what I had here must not have had the latest updated stats from the last game. When I wrote this down, I think it was late Saturday night, maybe early Sunday morning, and they did not have those up yet. And also about them, 126th in red zone scoring when they get into the red zone. On 12 attempts, they have 3 passing touchdowns, 3 rushing touchdowns, 2 field goals. They get in the red zone, they're only scoring 66.7% of the time. Other teams get in the red zone, they have given up a touchdown every time. Jed, thoughts about kind of special teams, these stats that I just had here? And while you're telling me that, I'm going to try to get some of their punters information.
Gotcha. Yeah, I was looking at their kicking stats. What was it here that I was looking at here? Yeah, their field goal conversion percentage, 57%, good for 119 according to this site here. There's nothing that screams something really, really amazing, nor is there something that screams really, really bad either. I'm thinking there's really not a lot that you can glean from these numbers that's gonna really surprise you. There's not really anybody that's going to be a big threat on the punt return if you handle business, and be stingy on the as we continue to pad those stats on our side as far as being stingy on being able to return punts. I think we're okay with that. So basically, the gist of what I think about it all is, like I said, just nothing jumps out at you. Like, they're really, really bad at special teams, but nor are they really, really, really good either. They're kind of right down the middle of the road to me, it seems.
Well, for whatever reason, they didn't have the punting stats on the team breakdown things, but I looked them up here. And the punters so far, 25 punts on the year, 45.1 average, 59 long. So this is James Allen, 6'3", 190-pound junior, and he has 6 inside the 20. 24% of the time he's putting it inside the 20. The net punting, I told you, he's getting 45.1 through the air, but the net 40.7. So they are not allowing very much on returns either. 4.4 yards per return. All right. So we have talked about the offense. We've talked about the defense. We have talked about special teams and some other little key stats there. Let's get into our keys to victory. I have 4. You have?
I've got 3. So
Okay.
If you wanted to go first.
Yeah, let me go first. And I'm going to start with number 1. Lord, please stop the senseless penalties. It's been 2 weeks in a row that we've had heavy on the penalties, and it's bitten us. It's taken points off the board. One, I think maybe even 2 touchdowns last game. And it definitely took away an icing of the game where we would have gotten a first down at the very end of the game, but it was called back for a penalty, and we had a fumble on the next play. So if we could stop the senseless penalties, I think that will go a long way, because we've just been shooting ourselves in the foot. What's your number 1?
So my number 1, and I base it off of last week's game. Play all 4 quarters.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is you can't win a game by dominating a team for 3.5 quarters. You have to play the entire game, and you have to put together all 4 quarters. And I think you and KD have talked about this too. Is I believe even in the last episode preview for Georgia Southern, you all discussed this. Playing 4 quarters of football, or good football, and I don't remember how you guys put it, but we have to maintain that all the way through, because as it shows you get a couple bad, you get the safety and some fumbles and some bad penalties, to your point.
Sure. Yep.
Then you can have a really bad quarter of football that costs you the game. So you've got to play all 4 quarters.
That just shows you, man. The very last game just shows you. We played 3 quarters of football, and in the 4th quarter we gave up 21 points and we lost by 1. And surprisingly, or not surprisingly, I should say, my number 2 is nearly word for word. I worded it differently, but the thoughts behind it are nearly everything that you just said. I put down we needed to start strong and we needed to end strong. So even the way I put that, if I'm going to talk everything about it, it's exactly what you just said. You got to put up 4 quarters of football. You can't be up and have a great strong start and just take your foot off the gas and coast to the victory. We have to end this game strong, and we have to keep putting points up on the board, and we have to keep not in a prevent defense, even if we're up. We have got to get in there and let our defensive playmakers make plays. So I'm right there with you. What is your number 2?
For this is, at Jed Horton Twitter handle opinion is we got to settle the quarterback debate.
Okay.
I think you go with the hot hand, whoever that may be, and you go with them until there's a very good reason not to. I think in the last game, there's again I can armchair coach with the best of them. But there's a reason why, the athletic department hasn't reached out to me yet and offered me the head coaching position.
I keep waiting on it.
My phone's it's on right now. It is on loud. It's not on silent. So whenever you guys are ready. No, but seriously, but from my opinion on it though, it's you settle into one, and I think whoever that may be, whether that's Earl or Braxton, I've got my opinion on who it should be. But I think you settle into one. I think that affects the game rhythm. That affects how, you got 2 quarterbacks play 2 slightly different styles. And I think you go with the hot hand and you settle into who that QB1's going to be. And so that's my second key to victory is settle on who your quarterback's going to be.
Very good point. I think that you're also speaking to the fan base there because that's what everyone is clamoring for. Of course, most of them are saying Braylon Braxton, and it's because he has been kind of explosive when he's been in. We also saw him with the 2 fumbles down the stretch. So there are other people that are saying, Earl did well when he was in and had penalties that made him look worse that didn't help his cause. So I understand why there is a quarterback controversy a little bit. I also understand why one person or one quarterback leaps off the page to other people and says that's the guy. And I understand why other people are saying, well, no, this too. And I don't know. We definitely need to settle something. And I hope this is the game that does it. Because I think more than anything, just getting behind that guy and finding our identity on offense will go a long, long way for this team.
And that's not to knock either one in that way.
I know.
So I just wanted to say that out loud. It wasn't to knock either one. And I get why there's competition in the quarterback room after watching both of them play. So,
I'm right there with you. And I get it. And I'm not knocking either one either. I think both of them bring a lot to the table. Number 3 for me is totally different than the first 2 things of stopping the penalties and starting strong and ending strong and playing the whole game. Number 3 for me is we've got to find a way to shut down Ted Hurst. He's got 5 touchdowns on the year, did I say? I think it's 5 touchdowns on the year, and it's been 5 games. And he is getting it done through the air. Let me get these stats back up here. Yeah, 5 touchdowns, 25 receptions. So every 5th catch he's getting in the end zone, 434 yards, a long of 76. He's a threat. Get his height and weight up here. 6'3", 385 pounds. Not as big as Christian Fitzpatrick at 217, but 6'3". He can be a matchup nightmare out there. We are going to have to keep him out of the end zone. If he drops a couple of touchdowns on us, that's 2 that we're going to have to get right back. So he's a threat to take it to the house, and we are going to have to do something to keep the ball out of that guy's hands so he doesn't have the opportunity to take the pass. What is your third, sir?
So I'll do 3.5 on your take. I think part of stopping him is going to be living in the backfield.
Okay.
And I think, we've got, we've had some good opportunities. Of course, we've got that defensive line, which is monstrous. And so I think we need to spend time in that backfield, getting pressure on him, getting a couple sacks, getting some batted balls, keep him uncomfortable. And I think you can limit the amount of touches that the wide receiver and the tight end are going to play. My third key is, I know we run a modified air raid, but it just seems to be that we cannot get away from running the ball and having success running the ball. I'd like to see, obviously, some, passes like we've been doing, but I think we got to make sure that you give Turner his due.
Okay.
Give Turner his, because he's going to break at least one, if not more. And you look at Georgia State's ability to defend against the run. I wouldn't say go full run heavy offense against them, but I think a similar style offense that we ran against App State would have similar success. So, don't be afraid to run the ball and put it in the hands of your very talented running back room, not just with Turner, but guys like Houston and Ethan Payne. So run the ball.
We going back to your 3.5 there that you were talking about, living in the backfield. Through 5 games, they've given up 5 sacks. We are right there with them, 6 games, 6 sacks. So it's been very similar. And, we have talked about this for a few different games now, going up against people that did not give up a lot of sacks. App State, for instance, didn't give up a lot of sacks. We got back there 4 times, I think it was. And we're going to have to do that again. And we are coming off a really good game. D.V. Harris lived in that backfield. Mike Green is always a threat to live back there. Tyquez Legs, Chris Thomas, J.J. Hawkins, Jabari Ishmael. We just really need to unleash those guys and force this pass-heavy quarterback and team to throw interceptions, which they've not done a whole lot of. We need to force them to throw bad passes and not have an attempt to get it to Ted Hurst. So I like that if we can do it. They've just been kind of stingy preventing that. Mm-hmm. My fourth and final one is to shut out the noise and start fresh. There's been a lot of talk on social media. These players see that. They're right there on social media. I don't know how many of them just log off. Owen Porter used to say, if it's during the season, I don't see anything. I'm not on social media. And I can't imagine being a player today and how you would want to just go interact with your friends. And no matter when you log on, you're going to be seeing DMs from fans. You're going to be seeing what fans say about some of this stuff. So I think that we just have got to shut out the noise from everything, the impassioned fan base that we had. But again, overboard with some of the people, as we talked about on the last episode. We've got to shut that out, start fresh, block that out, and just say, all right, we had a horrible loss. We're over it. We're focused on this game. We're going to come out and do this. And that goes back to one of my big questions to you earlier. So I'm hoping we can do that, man. All right. Did you have something on that?
Yeah, all I was going to say about that is, that's an excellent point. I didn't, I think we kind of were talking around that point, but I never came up with that as a key to victory. No, but I 100% agree with that. It's, I said my piece about the game out loud in my house and in the heat of the moment. But
Were the cops called, Jed? Did somebody call the cops?
they were not. No. Luckily, it was not this time. Not this time.
Yeah.
We were
Okay.
good. No, but everyone had a lot. Everyone still has very strong feelings. But if you kind of bring it back down to earth a little bit, the season's not over. There's still a path to the Sun Belt, championship. It's definitely harder, but that still can be the goal, and should still be the goal. And having these players, especially the players, being able to block out that noise and know what they can do, because against Georgia Southern, they proved for 3 quarters they could do it. You clean up your penalties, you do things just a little bit differently, and you're just a couple of plays, a couple of decisions away from still having a really really good successful season. So come out with that intention to play, and if they can do that, I think they can handle business against Georgia State.
Yeah, what gets lost in all that, and we didn't talk about this the last episode, but it was my key to victory here, of course. I think it gets lost that the players are reading everything that the fans are saying about the coaches, and that's their coach. That's a lot of them. It's their reason that they're here. The connection that they have, and off the football field, a mentor for them, and it's got to be tough. And it's got to be tough to hear fans say boycott the team, boycott the game so we can make a statement. I think that it's got to be tough for them to see people say, I've given up on this team, So I hope they can shut that noise out. But I think that's lost on a lot of people. I think when they're saying fire Huff and making a hashtag and things like that, they don't realize the impact that these players may be taking from that.
Well, and that affects, without going too far in the weeds here, it also affects recruiting. If you're going to bring kids into an empty stadium, with no fans there, boycott. I mean, I don't think that's the solution. And I think being don't accept mediocrity, don't accept not playing for championships, don't accept less than that high caliber football that we want, for sure. Have that be unacceptable, but have that be unacceptable understanding that these are still kids, and kids that have come to play for the school that we love, and showing them support is just as important. That's just as important, and those decisions of boycotting games and withdrawing donations and things like that, may have the desired effect as far as maybe getting a new coach, or if that's what you're wanting. But it's also negatively affecting, future recruitment cycles and the future of the program as well. The school needs funding.
They do.
You still got to pay for that.
You never could live without it, but in today's college football climate, it's more important than ever.
Yeah.
Who is your MVP that you see for this game?
Oh, MVP. Oh, that's a great question. I think it has to be, and so I'm going to show my hand a little bit on who I would like to see be QB1, but I think it's going to be Braxton. I think he has shown that he can make some plays and do some pretty cool things. I mean, SBC Player of the Week goes to show that he's got the talent is there and the capabilities there. He's my favorite to be QB1. And he starts and plays the whole game. I think and not because he's way above and beyond any of the other players, but I think he'd be that MVP for me.
All right. So you had mentioned this earlier, and I didn't chime in on it at the time because I was saving it for this, but my MVP is AJ Turner, and it's for everything you said earlier on their rush defense, on how Turner is always ready to break one. He's good for one a game for a really good chunk play, maybe a couple of chunk plays per game. I see us finally giving him the ball a little more often. Maybe that he gets up there in the 15 to 20 carries, and the production is there, and that will lead to a big game, statement game from A.J. Turner. That's who I have as MVP. Do you have a score prediction?
I do. I really like the herd in this one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if we put all the pieces together, they come out strong, come out making a statement, which I think they will, and that's what I'm leaning towards. I think you're going to see a 35-21 herd victory in this one.
Okay.
And so that'll be my score prediction.
We are not far apart at all. We're right at it. I do not see us putting everything together to where we have a stingy, only give up a touchdown or only give up a field goal, and then we score well over 40 points. I don't see that big, complete game just yet, but I do like our chances in this. I see us coming out strong early, and we do a 31-21 victory for the herd. So you're 35-21, I'm 31-21. We're right there together. Jed,
Yep.
That kind of brings an end to it. Different episode. I'm not used to leading these, as everybody can see. I don't have the stuff written down like KD does. I'm used to having that stuff fed to me instead of doing the feeding. I don't have the hosting style that KD has. He's been doing this for a long time, and I'm usually the guy that just gets stuff lobbed up to him. But it's always, like I said, fun to have you on here. Everyone that's watching this knows who you are. You're there at all the tailgates, and you're the driving force behind ThunderCast Live, powered by Ignite Link. You are the face of Ignite Link. And you really make a lot of our stuff make it go, So I'm going to, before we close and let you say whatever, I'm going to use my time to close us out to talk about that tailgate. We are having a low country boil. And again, all of our tailgates this year are made possible because of Landscaping by Hillcrest. And the owner of Landscaping by Hillcrest is at every tailgate of ours, but this one coming up is his birthday. So it's on a Thursday. Usually you don't get to do anything fun for your birthday on a Thursday, but this time he's going to have a home football game and a tailgate to go to. We're going to do it up big. He loves our low country boil. It makes a lot of sense for us to do that on a weeknight game. Due to the logistics, you got to find something that can be cooked in a small amount of time if you're cooking on site. So we will have a low country boil. Karen LeGrand is going to have her usual table of sides and desserts and everything that Karen is so amazing about. We are going to have a good time. You will see us out there definitely by 3 p.m. I am using my afternoon of work. I'm getting my stuff done early on Thursday, and you'll see me out there when the lots open. I will already be there set up so we can have that boil up boiling. Jed, do you have any thoughts on that or any parting words before we take us out of here?
Yeah, so for all of you listeners out there who were able to make it to this part of the episode with me speaking, the one thing that I would say is if you haven't had a chance to come down to the C lot and tailgate with us, or if you haven't had a chance to come to a home football game, make this that game. Russ mentioned Karen and all the people, the Landscaping by Hillcrest and all those people that help make those tailgates possible. Come down and hang out. I mean, it's always a good time. You never know who you're going to run into. We get some celebs who swing by occasionally, but of course the food is free, drinks are free, everything's free. So, come on down. We're in the same spot in the C lot, right across from McDonald's, right outside the end zone there. So, I spend my time here, Russ, just telling people, hey, if you haven't had a chance to come down and say hi and have some food and some drink, come down. We'd love to have you.
We do have that kind of, you never know who's going to show up at a ThunderCast Live powered by Ignite Link, right? Earlier this year, of course, they were in for the Hall of Fame thing, but Rakeem Cato and Tommy Schuler were over there. We had LV Cold Claw over there. We just tend to have a little bit of everybody loves to stop by ThunderCast Live, powered by Ignite Link. And, I mentioned Karen by name. I also have to say, we have some MVPs that come over there and do a lot every game. Jake, Emily, Garrett. I've got a lot of friends that are over there that help make this thing go while I'm babbling to you behind a microphone. So hats off to all those people.
And they think I do the hard part, but really they do, honestly.
They do.
Yeah,
and there's nothing better when you take that headset off and you can grab a beer and you can grab a plate that they've been putting together. We do always say, though, if you have a favorite drink of choice, bring it. You can throw it in our coolers, but we can't possibly have everything that you want over there. So, Jed, I'm going to take us out of here. We're right at an hour. Loved having you on here again, but whether you see us at the Joan, whether you see us at the Jack, or whether you see us, like Jed said, at ThunderCast Live, powered by Ignite Link, in the C lot, no matter where you see us, we're going to be saying, go Herd.
Go Herd.
It's a ThunderCast. We will be back early next week and get back on track with our 5 things that around the herd. We haven't had a full week to get those in yet, but this man here always brings those to us, those 5 and maybe more things, but we'll have those here in a few days. We're the ThunderCast. See you later.